start with State Board of Education. We have Sergio Mora, Andres Burro, and Marta Dominguez. Each one of you will be given 2 minutes for opening remarks. Go ahead and introduce yourself, your experience, all of that good stuff. Ms. Dominguez, we'll start with you first.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and for allowing this opportunity for all of us to come and share ourselves, our information. My name is Marta Dominguez, and I too am in El Paso. I graduated from the oldest high school here in the city, El Paso High. I have been an educator for 35 years, so I have worked with and for students that length of time. And my experience is what I bring forth. I am in education by choice, and by choice because I learned that I love working with our children. And in every capacity that I have worked, I have always exceeded, foremost always with the students, because they do deserve our best. I am a graduate of the University of Texas at El Paso with a business administration, a bachelor's in business administration. Stephen F. Austin's with a master's in secondary education, and Mexico State University with a doctorate in educational administration.
Okay. Mr. Burro, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, my name is Andres Burro, State Board of Education for District 1. I have been an educator my entire adult life. I have taught middle school math, science, and physical education. And I have also taught adults English as second language and citizenship courses. For the past 15 years, I have been the manager of the Community Education Program at El Paso Community College. During this time, I have been able to raise close to $10 million in grants and contracts from the federal government, from the state government, from the local government, and from numerous foundations. This funding has allowed us to create first a lot of jobs, but most importantly, very innovative programs. One of the programs that I'm most proud of is the Migrant Education GED program. It has been the top performing one in the entire country for the past 2 years, out of 41 programs according to the U.S. Department of Education. I have published a GED textbook, I have published numerous articles, and I have been overseeing the publication of the student journal Memorias del Silencio, Footprints of the Borderlands. I have a bachelor's in biology, a master of arts in interdisciplinary studies, and I'm working on my PhD in teaching, learning, and culture. I think that this broad range of skills prepares me first to take on over my opponent in the regular election, our opponent in the regular election, Charlie Garza, but also take to Austin the knowledge and skills that can bring credibility back to the State Board of Education. And I believe that these are the reasons that Senator Jose Rodriguez has chosen to endorse me, along with past County Judge Alicia Chacon, the Mexican American Bar Association, the Westside Democrats, and several University of Texas at El Paso faculty. Thank you.
Mr. Mora, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to your debate. My name is Sergio Mora. I am a graduate of American University. I have a degree in international relations. I have worked in the legislature with State Senator Judah Saffarini and with State Representative Richard Raymond. For the last 4 years, I have been the chairman of the Webb County Democratic Party, and now I am here running for the State Board of Education. I am running because I think that our educational system has gotten hijacked by right-wing extremists. It has gotten hijacked by people that place such a high emphasis on corporate-style accountability that it has really just tossed our kids by the sideline. Right now, our kids stared for the first time on the latest reincarnation of a test that has really just perverted the system of education in our state. I think it's time to get back to basics. I think it's time to let our teachers do what inspired them to get into this profession to do, which is teach our children, not drill them on how to take a test. I have a lot of experience in the legislature. I have a lot of experience in arguing against these right-wing elements that really do not have our kids' interests at heart. So again, thank you very much. I love El Paso. You're the most hospitable people in the whole state, and I hope to be back a lot. Thank you.
Our first question, each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond back. We're going to go ahead and start with Ms. Dominguez. The first question is, what are your most important beliefs in education?
I believe that education is key. My father instilled in all of us that education was the one thing that could not be taken away from you. Education is also the great equalizer. Education is what will allow our society to move forward. Education, as a teacher, I learned that the most important characteristics was to go ahead and to be caring for the students and respecting the students. So I believe that in education, if we care and we respect them, they will always do the best, and they deserve for all of us to do our best for them at all times.
Mr. Muro.
Thank you. To me, education is a right, not a privilege. And the right-wing fringe of the Republican Party is trying to make education a privilege for those who can afford private education by diverting funds away from public education. Education should prepare kids to function in college, to function in society, and to function in community. And right now, again, the preach of the Republican Party is preventing to doing that by denying children the right to learn science, the right to learn bilingual education, and the right to learn multicultural education. We need to allow teachers to teach those subjects instead of my companion here, Mr. Mora, said, instead of teaching them through our standardized tests. So teachers have students have the right to acquire the skills necessary to succeed in their future.
Mr. Mora.
Thank you. I believe education is a be-all, end-all. I think we have, on all levels of government, our priorities screwed up. The front lines to our future are not in the oil fields in the Middle East or in trade wars with Asia. They're in the hundreds of thousands of classrooms all across this state. That's where it begins, and we are losing the war. We need to prepare these kids for what is coming, for the world that they will inherit. No longer are they competing with the children next to them and in front of them for jobs. They're competing against children from all over the world because of globalization, because of the interconnected economy. And all over the world, they're being taught the basics in science, in engineering, in math, and they have well-rounded curriculum. Right now, we are doing our children a disservice by questioning the very foundations of science, by drilling them on how to take a test. It's time to get back to basics. It's time to pay our teachers what they deserve so they can teach our kids to compete for the coming generations. Thank you.
This next question is also 1 minute and 30 seconds. We're going to go ahead and switch it up and start with Mr. Muro this time. This question is, if you could change one thing right now about the Texas educational system, what would it be and why?
Well, we have, right now, Texas is ranked 49 in SAT verbal test scores. It is ranked 46 in math SAT test scores. Our children are not being prepared for college. they're not being prepared for the community, and they're not being prepared for life. We need to change the educational practices and use promising practices to change the course of education. We need to be able to allow the teachers to teach again, the children to learn, and to create model programs that prepare children to success in STEM careers, science, technology, engineering, math, as well as language arts and science. So we need model programs that work, and we need to avoid the standardized testing that is oppressing the teachers and preventing the students from learning, and is misusing the resources that could be used to provide adequate preparation for the children, access to technology, access to science, access to textbooks, and of course, hopefully increase the salary of teachers, although unfortunately it's not the role of the State Board of Education, and to use the permanent school fund, which is one of the roles of the State Board of Education, more transparently to be able to provide additional services to the students.
Ms. Dominguez,
Do you repeat the question, please?
if you could change one thing right now about the Texas educational system, what would it be and why?
Well, I know that right now, I think last week, the State Board of Education just approved the math standards for the next 10 years. And they have adopted those standards that are substandard to the Common Core standards. There are 46 states that have gone with the Common Core standards. And the difference in those core standards is that they will prepare our students to be clear thinkers. They will prepare our students to process. They will be tested, but they will be tested not on drills, not on memorization. Texas is one of 5 states that has strayed away and not follow those Common Core curriculums. By not following those, we are preparing our future students not to be competitive in the globalization. They're not going to be as well prepared. We all know that. When you stop and think why Texas is doing that, my only deduction is that if you look at Texas, the minority population is growing. So why are we settling for a substandard curriculum? Curriculum is at the core of what our students learn. So one of the things that I would like to work towards is that, which comes along with not focusing so much on the test, but making sure that there is a balanced curriculum for our students to allow them to have personal as well as intellectual growth.
Thank you, Mr. Mora.
There's one thing I would like to change about our current educational system. It's an overemphasis, an over-reliance, and an obsession with the standardized testing system and with accountability. I think, and I agree with Dr. Dominguez, we need to focus on a well-rounded curriculum. We need to give these kids the opportunity to interact with their educators so they can explore all these different subjects, so that the teacher can work with them and identify with them what subjects they are interested in so they could choose a career path. So they need to be, their intellectual curiosity needs to be sparked. And right now, under the current system, that is not happening. Kids think of school and they think of drudgery, they think of drilling, and they think of testing. And that needs to change immediately before going forward.
This next question will also be a minute and 30 seconds. It is, what do you propose the effective solution would be for the Texas School District budget crisis? We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Mora.
We have the money to fund our educational system is there. It has always been there. The thing is, our governor and our legislature think it's a better idea to preserve tax cuts for companies like oil and gas companies that got these tax cuts in the midst of the recession, right now they're making record profits. And I think everybody can tell when they go gas up their car. The thing is, the governor and the Republican administration will not touch the sacred cows of the corporations that fund them. Texas has rebounded from the recession better than expected. We currently have the money to fund at least half of the cuts that were made in the last legislative session. Pearson Publishing, the company that makes those dreaded stars and tax tests that our kids are taking right now, have gotten $1 billion over the last decade to draw up the test and all the materials supporting the test. Yet, our legislature thinks it's fine to cut our kindergarten, our pre-kindergarten. They think it's fine to to increase class sizes. They think it's fine to fire teachers. The teachers and the kids are the last thing on the minds of the people that currently govern the state of Texas. The money is there. The priorities are not. So that's what we need to change.
Mr. Muro?
Thank you. First of all, let me start by saying that unfortunately, it is not the role of the State Board of Education to decide how money will be spent to improve expenditures for the school districts. But the first step would be to vote out the legislature as it is right now. You need to kick out the politicians first there before any significant changes can be made. But let me give you some specific examples. If you add 1 cent tax on gas, that would essentially cover all the cuts that have been done to the school budget. If you add a 2 cent tax on sodas, on carbonated drinks, that would have reduced the cuts by half. Unfortunately, the legislature refuses to make these changes because they're more interested in privilege the wealthy than the future of our children. So my recommendation is that you all go out and vote, not necessarily for us at this point, but vote everyone who's in the legislature out and put people in that care for the future of our children.
Ms. Dominguez?
And I agree wholeheartedly. And as we all know, we've got the other party that's been running, and that's why we have the governor that we have. And so we've got to make sure that everybody as a community, it does not really matter, but that we make sure that people are registered to vote. You gotta, when you go vote, you've got to make sure that you take 10 people with you. That is the only way. We cannot emphasize, the three of us here cannot emphasize how important it is, because we see what's happening. We see the effect that the laws that are being passed. We see all of that, and we see it more so affecting education. Each one of us is here because we have that commitment to education. We wouldn't be doing this. Education is priority, but we all have a responsibility in this, in the government, in our nation that we have. And that is to exercise our right to vote. Because that is the only way that it's going to turn. Thank you.
And the final minute and 30-second question. It's kind of a long one. With the recent negative light shed on educational systems throughout the city, state, and the country in regards to corruption and cheating, how do you feel that we can move forward from this and change it? We're going to go ahead and start with Mr. Muro.
Well, thank you. Again, a couple of the questions that are being asked are not questions that the State Board of Education can do anything about. But of course, we need to have more transparent administration of of school systems. One of the issues that we have right now is that with the efforts to privatize education, there's less scrutiny over what programs can do to oversee the administration of funding. There's a lot of steering of contracts, which is unfortunate, and that needs to change. One of the things that actually the State Board of Education can do, which is very important, is in terms of the oversight of the permanent school fund, that the State Board of Education advocates for transparency and avoids particular State Board of Education members which are always trying to, they're always being lobbied to invest in certain financial groups, that there's transparency and there's no steering of interest to the different financial corporations that are going to be lobbying for the State Board of Education. What actually we can ask and we should always get is transparency in management of all funds in public schools as well as the State Board of Education's oversight of the permanent school fund.
Mr. Mora?
Thank you. One of the things we can do to decrease the corruption in our school districts, and it's something that I advocated for in my home city of Laredo, Webb County, and it has proven to be effective, is move the school board elections where turnout is dismally low and school board members can ensure that a small number of people consistently vote them into office. What we can do is move the school board elections to coincide with the general elections in November. That way a lot of people come out and vote and they don't have a monopoly on the election. That way we can elect board members that are beholden to everybody, not just their small little armies who will then get paid for in patronage and contracts. Also, we need to better improve the use of technology. We have the means available to have every bid, every contract, every number that the school boards use, put them online. There's plenty of concerned parents and very concerned citizens who would do a marvelous job at looking for, finding, and pointing out fraud and abuse. So those are the two things that I think we can do right away to reduce corruption in our school districts. Thank you.
Ms. Dominguez?
Transparency is definitely through technology. I definitely believe that. I know that in our district we do have online a number, or you can online go ahead and report fraud. But it's you, the taxpayers. This is your school district. Every school district is your school district, and you need to demand transparency. You need to demand that you need to attend the meetings. You need to understand. And yes, it is true that when these elections are held, a handful, and we all know the cliques will go and vote in, sometimes you'd be surprised that maybe 20 votes is what went ahead and elected an official. So it is, again, I'm going to repeat, one way is you gotta exercise your right to vote, and as well as maybe some reporting. I don't know what else could be done, but it is our responsibility as citizens to go to a meeting. It did not take me long to realize that. I think I was a teacher and I went to a school board meeting, and my gosh, the first time that I saw them vote, I said, there must have been a mistake. I went ahead and went to another board meeting and another board meeting. By the fourth board meeting, I said, oh, these people don't have the best interests of our kids. Something's going on. So that's what you need to be responsible for. Go make them accountable, and you'll be able to tell so that such things do not take place. Thank you.
At this time, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for closing remarks. We're going to go ahead and start with Mr. Mora.
Thank you. No matter which one of the three great candidates, well, I like to know. Good, great. No matter who you choose, it is very important that you go out and vote, because we have a tremendous opportunity to remove one of the most extremist elements that currently serve on the School Board of Education. And yes, a lot of the issues regarding to education, the School Board of Education does not have a say in. But last night, I don't know if you saw it on Colbert Report, a member of the School Board of Education was on there on national TV. So I mean, if that guy can get on there, I mean, we sure can, and advocate for the changes that we need to see. The School Board of Education does have a lot of very, very important functions. Right now, they try to inject creationism and question the theory of evolution. I mean, these kids do not need any more confusion than what they get right now with the crazy tests and with everything else that's going on. So we need to get back to basics. We need to empower our teachers. We need to give them a career path where their pay increases just like every other career in this country. And right now we are not doing so. We are treating them like second-class citizens, and that needs to stop. Our children are our future, not the banks, not the oil and gas companies. Our kids are the future. If we want to compete, if we want to continue being the country that makes iPods and iPads and iPhones, and we want to make the next Dells and the next everything, we need to invest in them, not give tax cuts to them. So please, it is very important. Go out and vote this election cycle. The stakes have never, ever been higher. Thank you.
Mr. Muro.
Thank you. First, I want to thank my opponents for being here, because their qualifications make this field so much more competitive and give you a much better choice of people. I am not an electoral politician. I have been a politician all my life, but a community politician. I've been out in the streets and out in the classroom and out in the community, raising funds to create programs for children, for adults, and also I've been doing research to create model programs for the kids. That's why we have been recognized by the U.S. Department of Education as the top performing migrant education GD program in the entire country. I think what the state board needs is someone who can return the credibility back to the state board. And these are people who are educators and who know education and who know about best practices and who know about models that can improve the education of our children. And if I have a chance, and if you want to talk about education with me after this meeting, since we don't have enough time, I'll be glad to do so. But what we really need is educators out there that can challenge the right-wing extremists and bring education back so that our children can learn. I hope that I can do that, and and I think also my opponents are very qualified. So I want you to consider, and as my opponents have said many times, go out and vote. Get these crazy people out of office. Thank you.
Ms. Dominguez.
Our children come first, and should always come first. That means politics don't come first. And so we need to make sure that that happens. I also am not a politician, but I do care enough about our children to say, okay, I see what's going on, let me have a stab at it. Also, recently, the state board is made up of 15 people, and the majority are what, guys? Republicans. That's why we have what's happening. Just recently, y'all know about the redistricting that took place. That's why we all are here. I think we all jumped with joy individually, saying, okay, this is my opportunity, let me jump in there. And what recently happened is that it is at our state, it's being questioned if 15 representatives is enough. I'm going to tell you that I don't think so. Our Congress people are responsible for 150,000 people, constituents. Each member of the 15 State Board of Educators is responsible for 1.67 million. How can you serve that way? So dividing it will allow room for more representation and more versatility. And maybe we could start looking at some changes. Again, contact your legislators and say that you are in favor of this, because they are the ones that will be voting for this. We need to start breaking something, moving something, think out of the box, and not just allow them to continue the way they have been. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank each one of you for coming on down. Mr. Mora, Mr. Muro, and Ms. Dominguez, thank you very much. We appreciate it.